Welcome back, everybody. Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888, and today I've got a Firearms Fact video for you. Well, I suppose this is really firearms opinion, but it's based in a good bit of fact, so we'll have some fun with this. How often should you clean your gun? I get this question all the time, and believe me, I get a lot of questions from y'all, and I do keep up with them, and I do jot them down and add them to lists, and I get to them eventually. And this is one of those questions that's been rolling around in my head for quite some time, and I think enough of you have asked it that I feel like it's time to really give a good answer here. And I think you'll be surprised what I come up with here. So let's have some fun, and we're going to talk a little bit about firearms maintenance and how often you should engage in it. All right? Before we get started, I would like to thank our friends at Allegiance Gold. You ever notice how gold doesn't get much airtime until the system starts to shake? Well, here's what nobody's talking about. Starting July 1st, Basel III global banking rules classify gold as a Tier 1 asset, the same level as cash or U.S. Treasuries. This is huge. It means that central banks will now treat gold as the highest quality form of capital. They're not doing this just for fun. They're preparing for something. If gold is good enough for the world's most powerful banks and governments, why wouldn't it be good enough to protect your retirement? This may be the moment that we've all been waiting for. Gold could reach levels that we've never seen before. Whether you've got $5,000 or $5 million to safeguard, now is the time to act. I've seen plenty of gold companies advertise and come and go, but I chose to partner with Allegiance Gold because they actually care about pricing, about integrity, and about doing the right thing by their clients. They make it simple to move part of your 401k, IRA, or savings into real physical gold and silver. As a veteran, you may qualify for up to $5,000 in free silver. Call 844-790-9191 or visit allegiancegold.com/veterans. That's 844-790-9191 or allegiancegold.com/veterans. It's smart, simple, and secure. Call today. All right. So we're going to get into this question, and this goes back to, I'm going to go back to around, let's just say when I was about maybe 17 or 18 years old, okay? And I remember, all right, what guns did I have when I was about 18 years old? I think I had a M77 Mark II all-weather Ruger in 5.56. I had a bolt-action hunting rifle. I had an Armalite AR-180B, which was the later version of the 180. It was actually a pretty cool gun. I wish I still had that rifle. So I had a, kind of an AR type of variant, but it was an AR-180. It was all I could afford at the time because I think Bushmasters were like $900. And I think one of the local shops had the AR-180B for $600. And of course, me being a poor kid, $600 was a lot better than $800. So I bought that gun. And I had I think I had a Makarov PM. And I had, I think my grandpa's old Browning high power and a few other odds and ends. I had a Ruger 1022, maybe a couple of shotguns, that sort of thing. Most young people, that's kind of about what they're going to have laying around if they come from a family that's into guns or that sort of thing. And I remember later on in high school, Chad and I would go out to the farm and we would shoot all the time. And we would engage in these crazy cleaning sessions, okay? I don't have photos, but some of you that are, remember early on my YouTube channel when we would post videos of steaming the stocks and redoing stocks and stuff. And I know you've seen that garage there that was in those videos. Well, that's where we would do it. And we had these little green Tupperware bins that we would just fill full of strike hold or oil. And we would go through and meticulously clean our firearms after every single shooting session. It wouldn't matter if we only fired 100 rounds or if we fired whatever. It didn't matter. We would engage in this crazy long cleaning session. He and I, to this day, we joke about how as life goes on, it's like we got lazier and we want to clean less and less. Do I think that someone should clean after shooting 100 rounds? Maybe not. But it's just crazy how, as a gun owner, you get more and more comfortable with seeing how long something can go without being cleaned. So to answer the question, or let's just say to phrase the question into this answer I'm trying to come up with here, how often should you clean your gun? Well, it depends. It depends, okay? Are you in a military environment? Are you in the jungles of Vietnam where death might be around the corner? Well, you might want to make sure your gun's in top working order, right? Okay? Are you a soldier on the battlefield? You better make sure your weapon's in tip-top shape. Yeah, if you're trusting your life to it, if it's a life and liberty gun, yeah, make sure she's good. Okay? Yeah, maybe you're a competitor and you're relying on your firearm to perform really well and to chop that time off the clock and beat your competitors. Probably would behoove you to keep your gun clean, right? Okay. I suppose it really depends on what level of duty that you want your firearm to perform to. Okay, is it something you don't shoot very often? I mean, I know of many people who will go out and hunt every year, and they might only shoot about 10 rounds through their hunting rifle every year. And yeah, some of them don't clean it, maybe ever. In fact, one of my uncle's hunting rifles, I think it was an old Browning bar. It was a bar or something. I think it was a 30-06 bar, one of the commercial bars. And I think that he did not clean that rifle for like 15 years. Okay. It finally seized up one day and stopped running right. And that prompted us to pull it apart. And of course, it was really nasty. It needed to be cleaned. It was lacking maintenance. How many Remington model, what was it, 788s? Yeah, I think it's the 788, that semi-auto 30-06 Remington. There's so many of those things out there. 760, I think, is whatever that model number is. How many of those things have sat in closets and languished away and gotten seized up, where those kind of real fine threads that those bolts are made from, and they can rust out in a hurry. Okay, so yeah, maintaining your firearm for optimal performance is always going to be I would say the optimal way to go about it. I mean, you should keep your gun clean. But again, how often? Well, here's an M&P long slide. This is a Performance Center 9L. All right, I'm going to tell you something crazy about this pistol. I've had this pistol for about 12 years now, and I kid you not, this gun has about 4,000 rounds down the tube. Okay, I got these tear-in tactical extensions for the mags. I think these hold like 22, 23 shots or something like that. This is a fantastic pistol, and it pits the ace. It is a laser beam. It is a really accurate pistol. I have never done a detail cleaning of this pistol since I've had it. Now, it's due. I mean, it's crusty. It is nasty, but boy, it shoots. Is that just from my laziness or lack of attention? Possibly. Maybe it's this weird form of like, we don't want to jinx the performance of the gun or something, I mean, would you drive your car on bad oil for 10,000 miles past the oil change? Some people do. Is it advisable to do that? Of course not. You will have premature wear of your motor and ultimately lock your car up if you neglect your vehicle long enough. We do regular oil changes on our cars. But, right, hey, your car is due for an oil change. You're 900 miles away from the oil change. Okay, your check engine light comes on for the oil change. All right, maybe your car is trying to indicate that something's going on. Well, you're about due for an oil change. If you're going to drop your car off, you might as well go ahead and just get the oil change done, right? So gun maintenance is kind of like that. You should make an effort to clean your gun as often as you can stand to do it. Now, there are things like ultrasonic cleaners out there that I strongly recommend. We partner with Otis on all of our cleaning products. They have a lot of great options for cleaning products. Some of the pull-through options, like the bore snake type of options that you can clean on the go. So maybe if you're real busy, you just finished up at the range, you can bore snake your pistol real quick and at least keep the bore clean. Yeah, if the internals are a little crusty, it's probably not going to keep the gun from running, to some huge detrimental effect. But if you can at least keep the bore clean, that's kind of half the battle, at least keeping the chamber and the bore clean. The chamber gets dirty, you can begin to have, really sticky extraction. You can have tons of issues there. So a clean chamber is a must. A clean bore is very conducive to better accuracy. As a barrel begins to get more fouled out, you can see a degradation of accuracy. I will say, crazy thing with this M&P, it is just as accurate as the day I got it, and after all those rounds, it just eats and eats and eats, and this gun absolutely slays. And it shoots just as good now as it did the day I got it, and I love this M&P. This thing, I would totally trust my life to this gun right now, even though it's filthy and nasty, and you know what? It could stop running any second. So if you choose not to maintain your firearms on some sort of regular basis, you're sort of just playing around with fire, okay? Eventually, something will go wrong if you don't maintain your firearm for long enough. An AR can go a fairly decent amount of time without being clean. Believe it or not, they self-clean a little bit, okay? But there is a limit, y'all. I mean, you do have to maintain your firearms. Now, is that to say that, like, going back to when I was a young man and Chad and I were cleaning our firearms after every single session, is that to say that you have to do that every time you get back from the range? You don't. But I will say this. As you become a more advanced firearm collector, at one point my firearms collection was over 650 pieces. I know that's mind-blowing to some of you. I had over 650 guns at one point. And you look, and it's just absolutely crazy to think, how am I going to keep up with all these guns and maintain them all properly? You're going out making videos every week. I'm a YouTuber. I'm out here, shooting all these guns. Yeah, did I clean all of them as quickly and efficiently as I needed to in that moment? Maybe not. But because when you have a lot of things to care for, it becomes this custodianship that can be quite difficult. Okay? Versus, let's say you own a Mark 18 that's set up just like you like, a nice Daniel Defense or something, or whatever your favorite AR. You got your favorite pistol, your favorite shotgun. Maybe you only own 3 or 4 guns. Okay. Now, on that end, yes. Come back from the range after you've done your training. Maybe you've ran a few hundred rounds, 200 or 300 rounds of 5.56. Go ahead and do a preliminary cleaning on that rifle. If it's your only AR, by all means, keep it clean, because it's not just some backup piece. It's not just some, novelty to you. If you only own a few guns, by all means, every time you return from the range, keep them clean. But going back to when I was a young man and we would always clean right after every session, I didn't have a lot of guns. My AR-180 was my only semi-auto 5.56 I had. So I wanted to make sure it was clean and ready and capable at all times in case I need to defend myself with it. So I think that there is a lot of perspective that goes into, hey, how do I feel about cleaning and maintaining my firearms now after being a very hardcore gun collector for over 25 years now versus how I felt when I've only had my first few guns as a young man. And I think that, if you only have a few tools, you're going to keep those few tools extremely clean and capable at all times. Now, if this was my only pistol, do you think that I would run 5,000 rounds through this thing without cleaning it, and trust my life to it? And do that with a degree of sanity and logical sanity? No, that would not make sense, right? If this is my only gun, we better believe I want to keep it clean. I think at this point, this M&P for me is more about seeing how long it can go before something starts to go wrong. And I tell you, nothing's going wrong yet. So it's like, I'm going to keep running it like the dog it is. All I do is lubricate it and go, So that's just more of a curiosity on my point. But don't take my word for it. Just because I don't maintain some of my firearms as well as I probably should and as often as I should, doesn't mean that you shouldn't have your own assessment of your needs depending on just how much faith you want to put into the firearms that you have. So that's my answer. And I think both answers are correct. If you're a person who has a whole ton of guns and maybe some of them don't get a lot of range time, maybe you don't shoot them very often. Maybe you have a Mark 18. And look, I know people like this, okay? I'm not being weird here. I'm just saying the reality. I know people that have a Mark 18 that's their dog and they run the crap out of it. Nah, they clean it as much as they want to. But they got one pristine Mark 18 that's set up the same way that they keep for, if something bad happens. And maybe they swap those out every now and then. Maybe they, put 1,000 rounds through one, clean it, get it back to good like the other one, and then put a few rounds on the other one so you're not putting so many rounds on one gun. There are some people like that I know, okay, that they shoot a lot and they don't want to have a heavy round count on any one gun. They just want to kind of spread that wear and tear out over a couple of different guns. That might be the same gun design, the exact same firearm, like literally 2 Mark 18s, identical. That's not an unknown thing, okay? It happens depending on a person's needs, okay? Overall, I would say that it's not necessary to really maintain your firearm every single time you take it out to the range. I mean, if you go out and train with your pistol and you only run a couple hundred rounds or something, run a bore snake through it, lubricate it, wipe down the outside, you're probably going to be okay for quite some time. It would take several thousand rounds for that pistol to get so dirty that you're going to have some sort of issue from carbon buildup or something like that. as long as the chamber and bore is clean, and you just lubricate it before you use it and keep the outside wiped down, keep it from rusting and having corrosion, you're probably fine. Same thing with your AR. I would say the AR is probably more maintenance. You need to do more maintenance on your AR than you do probably on like a Glock or something. Because ARs can crap the bed if they have too high of a round count and they're not maintained well. You can start to experience problems. So, the question is, do you want to experience a problem when you need the gun to protect your life, or to take down the big trophy animal, or to fight on the battlefield, or to raid the drug house? Do you want your gun to fail then or not? And I suppose that's really what it comes down to: maintenance. If you want the status of your firearm and the state of your firearm's maintenance level to not be a factor, then simply always keep it maintained. That's my advice. So anyway, I thought this would be a fun episode because so many people ask me this question, and I really appreciate the questions that I get from you guys. I answer as many of them as I possibly can, and thank you so much for being patient with me as I get more content out this year. I've had a crazy year. There's been a lot of stuff going on. But I am looking to get back to the range. It's been raining for like the last 3 freaking weeks, which is torture to me because I've got the range cleaned up. I've got all the steel painted. Everything's looking beautiful. I've got body armor tests ready to go. I'm launching a new series about stuff that's bulletproof. So I am so freaking ready to get out and cut some new content. And it's been driving me freaking crazy to not be out at the range. So I appreciate you guys understanding. But I've got a lot more content on the way, and I really appreciate you tuning in today. Let me know what you think. How often do you clean your freaking gun? Tell me down in the comment section below. Maybe we'll compile some of these comments and revisit in the future. We'll see. If we get some doozies, I'll read some on the air in the future. So thank you so much. Many more videos on the way. We'll see you soon.